Okay, stance number 5. This is where we're going to start getting into Ma Bu, horse stance or horse riding stance. What I'd first like to clear up is that there is a bunch of different Ma Bus, depending on your style, depending on your teacher, bunch of different purposes for doing Ma Bu, and we're going to try and get comfortable with a range of them because I like to think of Ma Bu as a range of stances more than any one particular thing. The main characteristics that carry over in Ma Bu is the idea of evenly weighted, so an equal amount of weight of our body weight, our mass, goes down one leg through our foot into the ground, and an equal amount goes down through the other leg into the ground. So we're not favoring one side or the other, we're not leaning one way or the other. Everything is evenly weighted. From there, it's really just a matter of differences in the width of our legs and whether our toes are pointed straight ahead or kind of out to the sides. The first one that we're going to go for is what I like to describe as a medium frame horse stance. And frame just means overall size. In Chinese martial arts, you're typically going to find your small frame styles, forms, whatever. Those are where our feet are going to be fairly close together, and our overall stance is going to be quite high and upright. Our large frame stances, our feet are going to be quite wide apart. Let's go here. I have to sort of mark it out on this map. Our feet are going to be quite wide apart. Our legs are going to be quite wide, and we are going to drop our torso down, 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 basically to the point where our femurs, in an ideal world, are going to be pretty much level with the ground. This would be a large frame. So large frames are wide and low. High frames are tall and narrow. And our medium frame is about 1/3 of the way to our large frame. So medium is not like an exact in between. Medium frame is more like slightly wider than a small frame and on the way to getting to a large frame. We've already marked out what our medium frame is going to be based on our Taoist Awaits the Dawn stance, or stance number 2. That basically means that we are taking the height of our knee to the ground, and we're making our feet that width apart. So you can do this without a tape measure if you just want to kick up on the balls of your feet, turn your leg in 90 degrees, drop your knee to the ground, and the instep of our other foot should match that knee. Stand up, and there. That is not always the easiest thing for most people to do, so I recommend grab a tape measure, measure the height of your knee, put some marks on the ground, and go from there. When I get into horse stance, just like Taoist Awaits the Dawn, I want to make sure that I am very precisely aligning my toes and my feet, so I don't have one further forward than the other. I don't have one out on, further to the side or closer in. I'm making sure that my toes are pointed straight ahead on both feet. And if I can, I'm even going to take a look and make sure that my heels are going straight back. I know it doesn't look like it because of the wide angle on here, but they're going straight back. And I want to take the time to really make sure that I feel this connection, from my mind into my body and go, yep, that is the precise alignment that I am going for. I just want to be able to feel that. Next, I'm going to take a look at my hips. So in stance number 4, we were doing our ballet position number 1 and our plies, and that basically forced our hips into a nice flat orientation, and I want to try and keep that feeling going so that my hips are just naturally level, and almost when you get into it, it feels like they're pushing forward, but as you reestablish what normal is and natural, this should just become our natural stance. So we want to make sure we feel like our hips are directly over top of our leg bones, going straight down into the ground. From there, I want to be standing up nice and tall, like I've got a string coming out of the top of my head that's attached to a helium balloon that's floating away, or I've got someone pulling up on the tips of my ears. So my head is floating up, everything else is hanging down off of that point. So this puts us back into Taoist Awaits the Dawn. From here, to get into our horse stance or horse riding stance, what we're going to do is bend our knees. But we're going to bend our knees and keep our alignment the same for everything else. This is especially important to focus on the pelvis. As we bend our knees and sink down, our pelvis is probably going to want to slide in some direction or another, tilt, rotate, whatever. The challenge is going to be to keep this same pelvis alignment from our position number 1, our plies, or that we're doing right now, as we bend our knees. So if I set where my pelvis is, as I bend my knees and start to squat down, I'm not going to allow my pelvis to change its alignment in any way, shape, or form. And I can stand up from here. So I'm going to do that again. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm really going to track and make sure that my weight distribution that I've established high up, where it's exactly 50-50, left and right, front and back, I'm going to make sure that that weight distribution stays the same as I bend my knees. So as I bend my knees, I keep my pelvis nice and flat, and I keep that weight distribution the same, so that as I sink down, I am sinking down evenly into my feet, front and back, left and right, making sure I take the time and give the mental space to really feel what that's like to sink down and keep the weight absolutely evenly distributed on my feet. Most of us, again, like our hips are going to want to tilt and change position. As we sink down, we're probably going to let our weight shift forward or back or left or right or some combination thereof. But if we can get to the point where we can just sink down comfortably, bending our knees, and we're just dropping down a couple inches sort of thing, and keep our hip alignment the same, keep that weight going evenly into both of our feet, and we can stand up from here. Now, quite often this gets described as sitting down on a bar stool, but not just a bar stool, a custom-made bar stool just for you. So someone has taken the time to go and, measure you and contour everything just right and get it at exactly the right height. It's neither too high or too low, anything like that. This is going to be a perfect bar stool. It's not my favorite analogy, but it does kind of work for a lot of things, in the fact that when we sink down here, we're not sinking like all the way down, trying to get ourselves as low as we can possibly get, but we're instead just dropping down a few inches to the point where we would be nice and comfortable. everything can maintain its alignment. And the idea of this being a relaxing position to be in is kind of the main takeaway I get from the perfect bar stool analogy. You want to be nice and relaxed when you're sitting on a bar stool, just right? So that's kind of the idea that we're going to go for, is from our Taoist Awaits the Dawn position. As we bend our knees and sit down, we're going to relax into that position, sinking down. And over time, this is just going to become comfortable for you. You're going to be able to hang out here, no problem, just like you're on your own perfectly designed bar stool at your favorite bar, hanging out with all the best people. And that is a medium frame horse stance or horse riding stance. I think that probably comes from the idea of if you were riding a horse, you'd be, it looks a little bit like that. There's a whole bunch of things that we can sort of focus on when we do this, but honestly, if you're just making sure you are aligned, squatting down a little bit, relaxing into your stance, feeling your knees bend, making sure our hips are maintaining that same flat alignment the whole way down, and that our weight is evenly distributed on both of our feet, that we're not allowing it to slide in any particular direction. We are in a good horse stance, Ma Bu, medium frame horse stance. And we're going to spend a lot of time in here. A ton of our Qigong is all spent doing this. It is our basic foundational building block for all of our other stances. All of our other stances are essentially going to be a deviation from here. Changes to here, a modification of this. So from here, we just want to get really comfortable doing horse stance. Ma Bu. Spend a lot of time here. Just hang out. Get used to it. If you've got something in the microwave, put it in the microwave. Set your time. Hang out in horse stance. Do a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there. Just build this in as sort of a natural, comfortable resting position for yourself. Possibly where nobody else is going to see you, like in a basement. Don't necessarily recommend doing this at the office unless you got one of those fancy sit-stand desks and the sort of environment where people aren't going to look at you weird for doing this. But even if they do, just say, I'm doing Tai Chi. So, thank you very much for joining me on this Ma Bu primer, medium frame. We'll see you in the next one.